Away from the polls tomorrow. We'll have to find out.
It is down to the wire. I think a lot of people are nervous, or at least two people are nervous. Primary Tuesday, just 1 day away.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah?
1 day,
One day away.
Yeah, we're less than 24 hours away now from the polls opening. It's 7 o'clock in the morning for you. And Senate candidates in one of the hottest races in the entire country, wasting no time, still pounding us with their messages and political ads. Governor Ed Rendell is right here with us to talk about this race.
Good morning.
I guess we know who you want tomorrow.
Sure.
Arlen Specter.
Sure.
Why?
Well, I think he's done a great job for Pennsylvania. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. He's delivered. When I was mayor for Philadelphia, he never asked us whether we were Democrats or Republicans. He just did what needed to be done, and he's done the same thing as during my time as governor. He's been a terrific senator.
You know, in the beginning, so many people thought this would be a slam dunk for Arlen Specter. And Sestak now, of course, our latest Rasmussen poll, not only is he neck and neck, he's leading.
Yeah.
What do you credit that to?
Well, I think he's got a great media consultant. Those the same people who did all my campaigns.
Joe?
The campaign group. No, Neil Oxman and Doc Schweitzer. They've done great ads, very effective ads, and somewhat unfair ads, but of course that's the business, and I think Specter has fought back. I think the Obama ad's a good ad, and we'll see. I think people shouldn't base it on ads. People should think about what's the best thing for us as Pennsylvanians. And there's no question Arlen Specter is the best thing for us to replace his seniority, to replace his clout, to replace his ability to get things done in Washington. It's going to be almost impossible.
You mentioned these ads. Let's roll a little bit of this one. I think this is the one with the most controversy.
My change in party will enable me to be re-elected.
Arlen Specter switched parties to save one job. His, not yours.
Is that the one you think is unfair?
Yeah, it's really
In what
unfair
way?
because, first of all, Arlen Specter, before he voted for the stimulus, had a clear path to the Republican nomination. Mr. Toomey, Congressman Toomey, was going to run for governor. It was only after Arlen Specter voted, I thought, courageously for the stimulus plan that he fell out of favor with Republicans. Toomey said he was running for Senate, and Specter had to change. I've been after him for 5-10 years to change. Vice President Biden has. The president wanted him to change. So he did what we asked him to do. And now to have it implied that that courageous vote where he risked his career was done for political expediency, that stinks.
And I think Arlen Specter thought that maybe that was edited. We're going to show you the raw footage. I think he wanted this part included after that statement. Here it is.
My change in party will enable me to be re-elected. And I have heard that again and again and again on the street. Senator, we're glad you'll be able to stay in the Senate and help the state and the nation.
So technically, he was arguing that Sestak was taking it out of context. He did switch parties to be reelected. That is true.
Well, there's no question about it, but what were the circumstances? One, he cast a risky vote, which has helped this country. Sestak says he did it to save his job. Well, 20,558 Pennsylvanians were working because of the stimulus. Those are stimulus-funded jobs. Our Department of Labor reported that to me by the end of March. 20,558. That's not even counting all the people I would have had to lay off if we didn't have $2.5 billion of stimulus in our budget.
But those ads are effective, though.
Of course they are.
If you're not watching closely, all you hear is to get myself reelected.
Right.
You know, but
with
he
that
did say,
Kansas twang he still has.
yeah, that Russell Kansas
Russell.
twang he has. But I don't think he's done a very effective job of explaining what you just did. He could say, like, like Ronald Reagan, when his party turned against him, he had to go back to the other party.
It's true. Again, and I don't think elections should be determined solely by the campaign. If you're out there and you haven't made up your mind, think about what Arlen Specter's delivered for Philadelphia, for the region, and for the state. 30 years worth of delivering. That's what you should vote on, not some slick and very effective campaign ads.
Sally-Ann just mentioned it might rain tomorrow. Arlen Specter needs the city.
Yeah, he needs the city and most of this region. And rain here would be hurtful to him, particularly if it's nice in the rest of the state. So my plea out there, even if you're going to vote for Congressman Sestak, who's not a bad man at all, get out and vote. I mean, don't let something like rain take away the most sacred privilege that we have.
I noticed that you didn't endorse anybody for governor, and you don't normally endorse. Why endorse Arlen Specter?
Well, I don't normally endorse in a Democratic primary. I believe we should have open primaries. When I ran for governor, the party endorsed my opponent, Bob Casey. It actually worked out well for me and worked out well for Bob Casey. But I endorsed here because I asked him to become a Democrat. And I thought, since I asked him to become a Democrat, it would be sort of with ill grace if I stayed out of the
And I already asked him to vote for the stimulus package, which he did.
Oh, and I was on him like right on
And
rice.
he did, and he knew it would cost him with the Republicans, and they said, well, we don't want you anymore.
It was so fast, Mike. It was unbelievable. He voted for the stimulus on Monday or Tuesday, I forget which day. On Saturday, the Republican State Committee was meeting, and he was told not to come to the State Committee.
Can he beat Toomey, though?
Oh, yeah.
He's so far behind in the polls.
Don't worry about that stuff. When I started out against Bob Casey, I was 25 points behind in the polls. And look at Joe Sestak. He was far behind.
Well, just a moment ago, you said, you know what, Sestak is still a good guy. I was going to ask you about that before you mentioned it. So many people are taking shots at Sestak. You know, obviously, the White House is supporting him. Let's say Sestak wins. There are a lot of people who said, you know what, Sestak can't beat Toomey. So, what, are you going to forget about that and say, kumbaya, yes, you're going to rally
sure.
against Toomey?
When I ran against Bob Casey, it was tough primary. It was even more high level than this race. And we had no problem getting together and defeating the Republican. Look, Joe Sestak stands for the things that I believe in on issues. I'm supporting Arlen Specter because I know he can deliver. I know he knows how to work the process. But I'll have no problem supporting Joe Sestak against Pat Toomey.
Let's talk about the Tea Party. You don't think the Tea Party has having an effect?
No, I think there's a anger out there across the country.
For incumbents.
Because people have lost their jobs, lost their 401ks, lost their houses. Of course they're angry, and they take it out on incumbents. But the Tea Party is riding the wagon. They're not driving the car, they're riding the wagon. They had a rally against health care the week before the health care bill voted on. 1,000 people showed up. They had a rally on tax day. 1,500 people showed up. If I called a rally in Washington to protect puppies, 100,000 people would show up.
Yeah, they had a rally actually on last Thursday in North Carolina, and 6 people showed up. But there are a lot of people who believe that this Tea Party movement, and they even calling it a third party, is stoking this anti-incumbent. You shouldn't ignore them or you're going to get burned.
Well, you shouldn't ignore the sentiments that are driving this. But the Tea Party isn't driving it. They have no organization, no infrastructure. They're not driving it at all. If they did, you'd get a whole lot more than 1,000 people at a rally.
Let's say that to Bob Bennett out in Utah.
Bob Bennett didn't lose because of the Tea Party. Bob Bennett lost because there's anti-incumbent feeling out there. It would be like, for example, me saying, I carry a Flyers banner. Ed Rendell is stoking Flyers fever in Philadelphia. Of course I'm not. I'm jumping on the bandwagon.
The blogs are going nuts this morning after you talked this weekend because so many people, even Democrats, have been so hesitant. They're treading lightly when you talk about the Tea Party. I guess you say, you know what, this is what I believe. You say it's not a movement.
And not only that, I think one of the reasons the Tea Party's been fairly successful is the Democrats are scared. We're hiding behind shower curtains. We're afraid to talk about what we believe in. Let's take just one issue, guys, if I can, something that's important to me because I serve with Governor Schwarzenegger and Mayor Bloomberg on this national organization to rebuild our infrastructure. How do the Tea Partyites think we're going to maintain our infrastructure? Forget rebuild it. Maintain our roads and our bridges in a safe condition. Have quality transportation if we don't spend money on it.
Yeah.
Look, if you buy a car and you don't spend money to maintain that car, what happens to it? It breaks down and stops working. It's the same thing with our infrastructure.
Running out of time here. This is what a lot of people are concerned about. Not so much about the election, primary election tomorrow, but our money. We don't have money. We're being taxed to death. Well, not only in,
that's not
here,
true, Mike.
Here in New Jersey.
Taxes in America today are lower than they were when Ronald Reagan was president. They're lower. The overall tax burden is lower than when Ronald Reagan was president.
That's not the way we're all feeling.
I know, but that's because we're stoked by misinformation.
Where can you make budget cuts in the state of Pennsylvania?
Well, we've already made over $2 billion in budget cuts in the past 18 months in Pennsylvania. Can we make some more? Sure. Can we cut our way out of this crisis entirely? No. We have to raise revenue. But the good news is there are ways to raise revenue that people like. Extending our tax to cigars and smokeless tobacco. Only state in the union that doesn't do that. Taxing the Marcellus shale extraction, the natural gas. Only shale state that doesn't tax it. Getting rid of a vendor discount. Do you know Walmart gets a 1% discount for remitting its taxes on time? You don't get a discount. You don't get a discount. Neither should they. So that's 3 ways right there. That's over $300 million.
There's no way to do this, balance the state's budget without raising taxes?
Well, again, those are in 2 cases, 2 new taxes, which the people support. Polls show that the people support it by over 65%. Getting rid of the vendor discount. You think Walmart deserves a 1% discount for paying on time?
You know what? You sit here and you make it seem so simple, but then you go to Harrisburg and...
Well, that's because in Harrisburg, Chanel, it's pathetic. In my 33